Okay, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about password management tools. This is Katie Kramer. I am the Training and Project Specialist at Tomorrow's Technology Today. And on the call with us today is Leah Kesters, and she is our Business Development Specialist. So just a couple of housekeeping guidelines to go over. If you have any audio or video issues, please try to refresh your browser. That typically resolves any issues. This presentation is being recorded and will be available after the broadcast at tomtechtoday.com/webinars. And Leah is monitoring the chat, so please use that for your comments as we go throughout the presentation. And please use the Q&A if you have any questions. So when we think about passwords, we typically try to come up with a different set of passwords depending on what the type of account is. And a lot of times we think that we're being secure if we just walk around with those passwords in our mind, and then if it's going to be a while until we get back in, we just do the reset password. But the problem with that is that you end up with so many passwords in your head that eventually you need a place to put them. And there are also a lot of different guidelines that we have to follow depending on the type of account. So typically, the basic requirements look about like this, where you need to have 8 to 14 characters. It needs to be alphanumeric. You need to have at least one special character. You don't want it to include your name, and you need to have a mix of capital and lowercase letters. So Tomorrow's Technology Today, we follow the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and that is a non-regulatory agency for the United States Department of Commerce. So they are able to manage and provide these guidelines that we're going to talk about. So the first guideline that they give is the more the merrier. So they just came out with new guidelines, and they suggest an 8-character minimum when the password is set by a human, and a 6-character minimum when it's set up by an automated system or a service. And they also recommend encouraging users to create lengthy passwords with a maximum length of 64 characters or higher. All applications must permit any printable characters listed within the American Standard Code for Information Interchange, including spaces, and should even accept Unicode characters, such as emojis. The next guideline is to remove the reset. So for years, people have been encouraged to have their employees put password reset policies in place. So typically this is something that is every like 60 to 90 days, you're supposed to change your password. And according to this institute, that is no longer the case. The organization explains that as we go, if we have to keep changing our passwords, we get a little more lax on the strength of the password. So they're saying if we don't change it as often, you're more enticed to make it a stronger password. Complexity isn't king though. So how often have you created a new account for a new application, an online store, or digital news outlet, and encountered the prompt that your password must contain one lowercase letter, one uppercase letter, one number, one symbol? And for years, this type of configuration was the norm, but now they're saying that much like the new reset recommendation, overly complex passwords can lead to poor password behavior. So users who forget their complicated passwords tend to end up replacing them with new, weaker passwords. And the fourth guideline is to make it a user-friendly affair. So the show password while typing it's a pretty rare option on a lot of sites, but they're now trying to get companies to change this, allowing more users to view their passwords as they enter them. Without this option, users are more inclined to choose shorter passwords that are easier to enter correctly. Shorter passwords are less secure, so any benefits gained from these visibility blocks are counteracted by weaker passwords. So one suggestion that we have is, let's say, for example, that you have a news website that you have a login. So if you can do something that contains part of the URL or the web name into the password, and then maybe do like the 2-digit year and a symbol and month, color, animal, symbol, and then first 3 letters from the URL, something like that, that makes it unique to that website, but yet you kind of have a standard password convention. So an example would be like the year's 2020. So let's do, and then I used WHIO for my news source. So let's say 20 WH exclamation mark O, and then purple's my favorite color, and I always change my E's to 3s. And so that would be my password. And that's just an example of just kind of a password convention that you could use just to help keep you secure. Just to give you a little bit of a fact about why it's so important to have such strong passwords is between January and September of 2019, there were over 7.9 billion data records exposed. So although hackers are the culprits in uncovering that data, oftentimes they had a helping hand from human error resulting in a data breach. And again, passwords, that's just another layer of security that everybody has to have, and make sure that you have strong passwords so the bad guys move on and leave you alone. So passwords and documentation go hand in hand, and we have to think about passwords as part of that documentation. That documentation is created for sharing it with other people. But if you're giving that documentation, let's say the specific steps on how to do a certain something, and then you also give your username and password along with that documentation so that they have everything together, you also have all the keys to whatever information that the bad guys would need to get into, all in one place. And you also have to keep it in your mind that small businesses are an easy target for a lot of cyber criminals. So why do we suggest using a password management program? At Tomorrow's Technology Today, we use SolarWinds Passportal as our program. And this is something that we have like a master password that we need to remember the one password, and then it saves the URL, username, and password for all of our different sites. We each have our own vault that has just our information within it. And then we also have a company vault. So let's say that Leah and I both have access to our YouTube or Facebook account that we can go out and post things. So we're able to share within the company. So let's say Leah and I also win the lottery, and 2 new people come in and replace. Now they have access to our YouTube and Facebook accounts. Or let's say that I end up leaving the company or I get fired, and our administrator needs to go in and disable all of my accounts. We're able to do that using the Passportal program. So it's a great way to save those passwords and also be able to control your business very easily within one portal. Why not use a spreadsheet? Why not use a sheet of paper? Why not use the convenient app that is built within your phone? So all of this comes back to the security that is offered within using a program. So even if you use a password on a spreadsheet, you need to make sure that it's got the 256-bit encryption at rest and in transit, and it's important to understand what that means. So if I have the password saved on an Excel sheet within my computer and I need to send it, let's say that I also want to access the same, if I need to access my password spreadsheet on my phone, it's going to be in transit until it gets there. So it's very important to have that encryption in place at rest and in transit. And it's not as friendly. So you want a tool that makes the password management secure and easy, which is what we get with the password management program. So with a tool, it will auto-populate on all your devices. So your phone, your tablet, and computer. With Excel, you also don't get the multi-factor authentication, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Why not use a sheet of paper? There isn't any security really around let's say if you have your sheet of paper with your passwords on it locked up in your desk drawer, the maintenance guys have that same set of keys, or security. They're going to figure out a way to get in that desk drawer very, very easily. So whether it's locked or not, it doesn't really matter. And also apps within the phones, those are going to be a huge target. So for Android and Apple, yes, they offer that as a service. but it's not as secure, and it's also not able to be shared within all your different devices. So you're understanding your biggest risk and how you can save your business. So just knowing that your employees are your biggest threat to your business data, you want to make sure that they understand why passwords are important and how you want them to be saved. So make sure that you educate them on what your process is. So if you decide to use a password management tool, make sure that they know how to use it and how it works and how they can still share the passwords if they need to. Kind of the ins and outs of it a little bit from a user standpoint. Make sure too that you have open communication. So let's say that you're asking someone within your accounting group that they need to transfer money someplace. So if they just get an email just stating, hey, can you please wire transfer, let's say $5,000 to this charity, just explaining that it's something very near and dear to your heart, but it turns out that that email did not come from you, make sure that they understand that they need to come back and you guys need to have a conversation about transferring that money before they hit the button to go ahead and transfer it to that other account, because you just never know. It's so hard to tell anymore what's real and what's not. And again, just using that password management tool. So whatever tool you decide to use, we're happy to talk about Passportal and what it can do for your company. If you choose to go with something else, we'll talk through just what to look for within the program. So making sure that it's simple to use for any browser at any device. Everyone's kind of got their browser preferences. Please do not save your password within the browsers, and we're going to have a video here in just a little bit about how easy it is to hack into those browsers and get your password information. Make sure, obviously, that it works on a computer and mobile phone. Browser extensions. So this is something Passportal has wonderful plugins. I know so far we have everybody using Edge and Chrome and Firefox, and as far as I know, those are typically the big three with a lot of business users, and it works so great. So you just log in, and then when you have your website pulled up that you need to log into, all you have to do is just click the little icon and it auto-populates your username, and then if you do the same icon for the password, it'll auto-populate your password as well. Makes it very, very easy to use, and it's also secure. Ability to pick your username and password from the add-in in your browser. So again, if you would rather go into the browser, open it up, and you're going through and you click on the URL, you're able to pick it from there. Security is a must. Again, having that encryption in place is very, very important. Multi-factor authentication, so that's also something that we have. So right now, when I go to log into Passportal, I have to use like my master password, and then we also have an organization key. And then on top of that, even, we have the multi-factor authentication in place that I have an authenticator app on my phone. I have to type in a 6-digit code and then I'm in. And Passportal, the way that we have it set up, we also have it set that if a user tries 3 times and they're typing in one of those 3 fields wrong, it's going to lock their account, and our administrators are going to get an email just letting us know, hey, Katie just locked her account, and then they can unlock it for me. The fine print of what to look for in a program, make sure, again, that it's end-to-end. So when that data is at rest and also when it's in transit. Active development, make sure that it's not something that's toward the end of its life. Auto updates are very important so the good guys can keep up with the bad guys and outdoing them in their technology. And open source programs are not recommended. So what does a password program do for you? So password generation. So if you're like me and you have almost 100 unique logins, each one of those passwords should be unique without similar keywords or patterns. I get tired of being creative, so having that password generator is a huge time saver. And again, I don't even have to think about it. It's all saved for me. I just have to know my master password to get to it. Convenience. So having spent countless hours of my life forgetting my passwords and then having to reset my passwords whenever I go to log into a certain account, if it's been a few months, Using a password manager is a real time saver. And this was a very real thing for me for a long time, that every time that I would log in to like a certain email account or something, I'd always have to reset the password. And then, you know, you kind of fumble around trying to find where the reset instructions went to. So huge pain in the butt, and having the password management tool is very convenient. And security. So password managers prevent keyloggers and screen loggers from watching you type your passwords on screen. So most password managers also include secure data sharing between users. And again, that's something that we use a lot in our company, is being able to share that information amongst our group. If you decide not to use a password management tool and you need to share a password with someone outside of your organization, this is something that Lisa suggested, that you use pwpush.com, and this site encrypts your password for you. Can my password manager get hacked? Technically, the answer is no, as long as it uses the incredibly strong 256-bit AES encryption method or an equivalent encryption method. So a hacker would need like super powerful tools to be able to steal your data. Even then, they'd still probably not be able to access your information. And again, we can't say enough good things about multi-factor authentication. So passwords are important, and if your password manager is free, you are not a customer of the vendor, you are the product. So just throwing that out there to keep that in mind as you're shopping around for a good password management solution. So Leah shared this photo with me, and I'm not quite sure what the story is, so I'm going to flip it over to her to be able to talk about this guy and his password that's written on this sticky note. Go ahead, Leah.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. This is an image that always sticks in my head when we talk about password security and being irresponsible and ways that you can not do something like this. For instance, here is an employee at the Hawaii's Emergency Agency Office. He is an operations officer overseeing any hazards for the islands. Here you'll see a photo of him showcasing his workstation. And if you zoom in, you can see in the picture on the right, he actually has an image of his password posted directly on his desk. And this image was shared when in a magazine and a story about their offices and what they do for the state of Hawaii. So the password had since been changed, so it wasn't an issue when the story was published, but it was a huge concern when a gentleman like this, so irresponsible, negligent with his password, was given the keys to the kingdom at Hawaii. So it's always something that kind of sticks in my mind, how to not be careless and negligent with your password.
All right, thanks, Leah. All right, and then up next we have Tony Westergus, who is our Director of Everything Security, and he's going to show just how easy it is to get into a lot of those popular internet browsers and steal your passwords.
Hello, this is Anthony Westergus, Director of Everything Security at Tomorrow's Technology Today. Today I will be showing you an excellent way to compromise your accounts through the means of saving your usernames and passwords in your web browser. It may be convenient, but it is also unsafe, especially if used improperly. Now, I will be talking about Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, and Mozilla Firefox, which are the most popular browsers at this time, and each with their own flaws when it comes to keeping your passwords safe. Now, as you can see here, I have three browsers listed. Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge uses the same method for saving your usernames and passwords, but I will be starting with that. Let's open up Microsoft Edge. Now, I do have a password saved currently. The way I would find this would be clicking on the settings button, which is on the top right, the three dots, going to settings, the passwords and autofill, and you see the saved passwords is on. If I want to manage the passwords, you see that I have one listed, shows the website and the username used in it, test@ttechd.com. If I go to it, you see that I have the username and password listed. Password is all dots, just so I can't easily view it. From here, it says to see passwords, go to the control panel, user accounts, manage web credentials. We can go there right now. The fastest way would actually just go to Credential Manager itself. And under the web credentials, here is the account we were looking at. As you can see, the passwords are still all dots, but I do get a show button. If I do click on this, I get a prompt to enter my Windows password, re-authenticating myself. I will do that now. And there the password is revealed, password 123. So just by having the Windows account password, I'm able to reveal any kind of web credential listed under that account. If I have already compromised the computer, I could reset that password of that account and then just enter the new password, thereby revealing any password under that account. Not very secure. But let's move on to a different browser. Maybe a different browser does it a different way and it is more secure. So we'll go over to Google Chrome. In this case, we're actually going to the same place at the beginning. We're wanting to go to the settings icon. We'll click on settings down here. And we see under autofill passwords, we reveal that. We see I have also saved the same account under Google Chrome. Password, obviously, all dots. But if I click on this icon, I am having to re-authenticate myself the same way. I will do that. And there we go. We have revealed that password immediately. Now, under Google Chrome, you could actually log in under your own Google account and sync those passwords, thereby not storing the passwords on the local machine anymore, but storing it under a password manager under Google's system. This is more secure. However, now your security has really just moved over to an online account rather than the computer itself. If your account is not protected with some form of multi-factor authentication, you're kind of running into that same thing, only now it's out on the web rather than enclosed into your local computer. Not only that, these passwords have to be saved somewhere on the local computer first before adding it to the account. If we would go to that location, which is a file that's under your computer's profile. It's actually this file right here. Has no extension, it's just called login data. But we can open this up with something like Notepad. Just to get some kind of information. This is what a hacker would potentially go into to get into your passwords. If they're not able to get on your computer yourself, but able to grab files from your computer. We can get things like the username, which is listed right here. However, the password will be encrypted in this file. The password's actually about right here. Obviously not the same as password 123. It's because this is encrypted in the file, but this could be decrypted to reveal your password. Even so, if they would not do that and just take your username, go to the website, they could attempt to brute force your account by rapidly putting in passwords, usually through a program. Let's go to our last browser here, which is Firefox. Firefox also can save your password. We've done the same thing with this browser that we have saved one password. But we're going to be clicking on the settings button up here and going down to logins and passwords. Here we see the website we were going to, the username and password. The funny thing about Firefox, if I click on this icon to reveal the password, you would think I would have to re-authenticate. That's not the case. Firefox actually reveals your password immediately without asking for your Windows credentials. So I would consider this even less secure than the other browsers, but really not by much. Obviously, Firefox would have to store this on the computer also, which has its own location under the user's profile. And from here, it actually stores it in two files, key4 and the JSON file. If I open this one up, the file itself is actually more secure. But we have the website name. If we scroll through this, we have like a username field, password field, and actually both the username, which is here, and the password field, which is here, are encrypted. So that protects your username and password at the same time, which is much better. However, obviously this can be decrypted. If they have access to your computer and able to get into Firefox, they can reveal everything without the use of a password, which shows less security on there. Obviously, the best ways to circumvent this is to be using a password manager from a known source, places like LastPass or our own Passportal, which will store the passwords on an online server through encrypted means, which you can also protect through multi-factor authentication.
All right, so that is everything that we have for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call at 419-678-4600 or send me an email at kkramer@ttech.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you guys soon.